Hello, my name is Juliet Marquez, and I decided to do my presentation on addictive behavior in sports, and specifically looking at drugs and exercise. The main reason why I wanted to do this topic was because, as a coach, sometimes, a lot of the times, you see athletes exhibit addictive behavior, and they have the tendencies to, you know, dive that into something that's more like drugs or exercise or alcohol use or anything like that. And I feel that as an educator and as a coach, these are signs that we should all be aware of and looking for. So, to dive into it, addictive behavior is basically it's a compulsive and uncontrollable behavior for use or substance, and addictive behavior includes components of salience, conflicts, mood modifications, tolerance, withdrawal, symptoms, and loss of control. With each of those that I just listed, it's more so like with salience, the activity becomes the most important thing in a person's life. Conflict is having it be in the middle of having it affect people around you. Tolerance or mood modification, a coping strategy to regulate emotions. Tolerance, increasing the amount of activity just to get the same effect that they got the first time. Withdrawal symptoms, unpleasant feelings occur when activity is reduced, and loss of control and ability to limit the given activity. With each of those are just to basically outline addictive behavior and addiction in general. Whereas in my next slide, exercise addiction seems to be seen as a positive addiction, only because of the positive effects that it has on someone's body. But just like too much of one thing can be bad. So what I wrote on here was that exercise as an addiction has been described as a positive addiction in relation to the positive benefits from physical activity. So potential harmful consequences from excessive exercise have been described or has been seen as people having injuries, dysfunctional eating patterns, and loss of social relations. It follows the same steps as an addiction, where in the first slide, how I had listed the salience, conflict, mood modification, tolerance, withdrawal symptoms, and loss of control. Obviously, for exercise addictions, they're not really like to that extreme, but it is seen in an article that I had read for this topic, was that it might be good for someone's body, but too much of one thing is bad. So I know this next slide for addiction in elite sport has a lot written on it, and I apologize for that. I know we weren't supposed to, but I feel like a lot of times there's some things that you need to see and be heard at the same time. But for addiction in elite sport, when they think about drug addiction or they think about the drugs that are being used, it's just mostly seen as a recreational use of drugs like marijuana, alcohol, cocaine, and the focus is primarily upon how the drugs impact upon performance or having it be related to performance stress. The article that I had read was about this Australian football player whose life was basically outlined in the media with his drug addiction. And there was actually a really important quote that came out of there, which is the second quote on this slide, was the root word of addiction. It comes from the word adicere, which refers to the nation of slavery. Which refers to the relation of being enslaved. So the example I gave was the relation of a slave to its master in Roman law. The notion of slavery is central insofar as addiction is defined as behavior over which an individual has impaired control with harmful consequences. It is believed that the addiction violates the individual freedom of choice. So it was basically being enslaved to your addiction, whether it be cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, or even exercise addiction, or even something simple as a shopping addiction. Like an example of that would be when you're feeling sad, you go out and you go shopping and it makes you feel better. And say like then you feel sad again and you don't go shopping, the you will not get that same happiness that you got after you went shopping, because you went shopping so many times beforehand. It's in the same nature of that. And the next slide, the practical support aids addiction recovery. That was the name of the article that I was looking up, and it basically went through different people of how they dealt with their addiction and what steps seemed to work for them specifically. And what's listed here on this slide is something that is widely seen, and it's taught throughout like every health book. But the only difference with this article was that there was opinions behind it and whether or not they thought it worked. So the 5 that were listed was positive identity building activities, which was having confidence and whatnot. Support perceived as ineffective. So people who had support and whether or not their personalities meshed with it or it didn't. Support perceived as effective, meaning they needed that support and it worked. Support aids like a friend or a counselor or sponsor for taking control. And then 5, self-verification of positive identity. So those were the 5 that were listed, and it's definitely something that is practiced almost everywhere and in different types of genres of it, whether it's like to the max of it or not. So this next slide, it's kind of a weird one. So the first pictures up is the addictive behavioral questionnaire, and I put that up because sometimes I feel like it's good to know yourself, but also it could definitely help with students and whatnot. And these questions asked, like we've all seen it in our, because this is lab 13.1. But I think we all did this. I did it at least. And it asks you questions such as: Are you a compulsive person? Are you a person of excess? Do you depend heavily on others, or are you completely independent of others? These are yes and no questions. And towards the end, the second picture that's coming up, towards the end, they tell you, like, if you answered to 5 or more of these questions, you have a tendency to have addictive behavior and should probably seek further evaluation. But when I did, I only got 2 yeses, and that was just because I am a compulsive person and I'm a person of excess, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have addictive behavior. It doesn't mean I have addictive behavior. It's just, it's just a questionnaire. Actually, I don't think I do, but the fact matters, if you would have asked me this in college, I would have had definitely more than 5 yeses, and it just goes with like the people's state of mind. And so that kind of leads to my last slide, which is the future. What should we do? And a lot of this is just, we should have training for coaching to have it be mandatory that they understand the signs for alcohol use, smoking use, and addictive behavior, knowing those signs, because our jobs is to help them become better people and move, like we're at a JUCO level, moving them on to the university level, and you don't want to set them up for failure if you know that they're struggling from this one thing. But that was just basically it. And then the last slide is just on my references. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys had a good semester. Thank you.